So I think everyone knows our fantastic director for Safe Environment, Kristin Leandro. Kristin, how's it?
Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much. And Kristin, I'll let you introduce Laura, and then we can begin this brief presentation that they prepared for us this evening. So, Kristin.
Thank you, Jane. So, it's nice to see all of the faces. So some of you, maybe most of you, may have met our victim assistance coordinator for the last 6 years. Her name was Elizabeth Lyons. And in early January, Elizabeth and her husband relocated to Nashville, Tennessee. And so with that said, we have a just as awesome, wonderful victim assistance coordinator, a counselor with Catholic Charities Hawaii, and her name is Laura Daniel. And so I thought, well, this would be a great opportunity to talk with all of you about our victim assistance efforts and give you a chance to meet Laura and talk directly with her. So welcome, Laura. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Can you all hear me okay?
I can, but Laura, you are on mute. So, okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, let's see here. Okay. There we go. Okay, now if you all indulge me, I also have a prayer that I would like to say. This is the prayer for victims, for healing victims of abuse. Okay, so I hope you all pray along with me. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. God of endless love, ever caring, ever strong, always present, always just, you gave your only Son to save us by the blood of his cross. Gentle Jesus, shepherd of peace, join to your own suffering the pain of all who have been hurt in body, mind, and spirit by those who betrayed the trust placed in them. Hear our cries as we agonize over the harm done to our brothers and sisters. Breathe wisdom into our prayers, soothe restless hearts with hope, steady shaken spirits with faith, show us the way to justice and wholeness, enlightened by truth and enfolded in your mercy. Holy Spirit, comforter of hearts, heal your people's wounds and transform our brokenness. Grant us courage and wisdom, humility and grace, so that we may act with justice and find peace in you. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Okay, so I thought I would start by sharing with all of you this excerpt from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops Charter for the Protection of Children and Young People. And this is verbatim from the preamble of the charter. And as you all know, essentially, it's the charter that guides all of the efforts of our Safe Environment Office. And I'm if you bear with me, I'm going to read through it because I think it's just such a beautiful piece of writing, where the bishops say, we continue to have a special care for and a commitment to reaching out to the victims of sexual abuse and their families. The damage caused by sexual abuse of minors is devastating and long-lasting. We apologize to each victim for the grave harm that has been inflicted on him or her, and we offer our help now and for the future. The loss of trust that is often the consequence of such abuse becomes even more tragic when it leads to a loss of the faith that we have a sacred duty to foster. We make our own the words of St. John Paul II that the sexual abuse of young people is, by every standard, wrong and rightly considered a crime by society. It is also an appalling sin in the eyes of God. We will continue to help victims recover from these crimes and strive to prevent these tragedies from occurring. Okay, so I think all of you probably saw the email that I sent out. It was maybe a couple of weeks ago. As you're aware, our diocese participates in an audit of our safe environment, child and youth protection efforts annually, where we submit our numbers, about prevention, the training and background checks. And also we report on whatever allegations we've received. And then every 3 years, we participate in a site visit. And it just turns out that 2021 is the year we're doing the site visit again. The difference being this year, it's going to be a little different in that it's going to be virtual. The interviews, the meetings and such. I mentioned this because this is going to be my third site visit. And in the 2 previous site visits that I've done, the one thing that I've noticed that the reviewers really, really focus in on is it has to do with the victim assistance services. So, do you have a victim assistance coordinator? What are his or her qualifications? And what are you doing to get the word out so that people know that these services are available? Okay. So just to kind of quickly go over it, the victim assistance coordinator provides support and services for adult survivors of child sexual abuse by clergy, religious, or lay individuals working on behalf of the Diocese of Honolulu. And the services include an assessment of personal needs and preferences for treatment, mental health services, assistance in providing a report to the Diocese of Honolulu, and other support services, not only for the victim, but for the family as well. This slide, I just wanted to kind of talk about how can our parishes, our schools, how can all of you be part of this healing and reconciliation process for victims and survivors of abuse? So the first thing is, and I know you all know this because this was part of our parish reviews, and we go through this annually, where there is a poster that has Laura's contact information, and we ask that poster is displayed in a well-frequented area of the church or school, and that there be brochures on the services provided by the victim assistance coordinator. The charter requires that we provide the brochures in English and whatever other languages that Mass is celebrated in our diocese. And so in addition to English, I believe there's like 10 other languages. And if you go to our website, there's like PDFs for the brochures that you can just download and print as needed. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention is next month, April, is Child Abuse Prevention Month. It was established in 1983 to recognize and acknowledge the importance of families and communities coming together to prevent child abuse and neglect. And so just some suggested outreach and communication activities that you might want to consider is to maybe advertise Laura's name, her contact information in a parish bulletin. schedule time throughout the month to pray the rosary for victims, survivors of abuse. I know the USCCB is going to be doing virtual rosaries, and I will be sharing that information with all of you within the next few weeks. And in the prayers of the faithful intentions during Mass, you can say a special prayer intention for victim survivors of abuse. Okay, and so as I mentioned earlier, in January, we got a new victim assistance coordinator. Her name is Laura Daniel. She's been with Catholic Charities Hawaii since 2018. And, you know, at this point, I think I'm going to turn it over to Laura.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time that you guys are giving to allow this platform to discuss this important issue. So I currently work at Catholic Charities Hawaii. I'm a therapist, and I have a lot of different clientele that I do work with, children, adults, families, and one of the biggest contracts that we do have, and a majority of the clients we have deals with child sex abuse. So that is a specialty of mine that I do. I'm also trauma informed. I go to many different trainings throughout the year just to keep up on best practices. Okay. Kristin, I think you can go to the next one. So what I kind of wanted to talk about today is looking at it from a therapeutic perspective. You know, I think it's really important, and I do appreciate what you do for children and families. And these are just some ways that we can be helpful, or just to kind of keep in mind of how we can better support. So being present, listening, that is so important, because a lot of times people ask like, well, what should I say? I don't know how to respond. I don't know what kind of advice to give. And that's okay, because if you don't have the right words to say, at least being present and listening can be really impactful for victims. You know, they just want to be heard sometimes. And sometimes what I tell people is that if they are brave enough, or they have the confidence enough to even disclose something like that, that they trust you, you know, and for them to even say that, sometimes that disclosure part of their abuse becomes really, sometimes it can make or break, I guess, the healing process for victims. And sometimes depending on the reaction or the response of that other person that they disclose to, you know, that can sometimes be more traumatic than the actual abuse. So it's really important that you're just present, you listen, and that, you know, you're really kind of tuned into what their needs might be. Another thing that I think is really helpful and important is validating feelings and emotions. You know, it feels really great when we can have somebody validate some of the emotions. And a lot of times with abuse, there's a lot of mixed emotions, you know, some more positive, some uncomfortable. And I think it's really, like I said, you might not be able to, at the time you're kind of put on the spot, you're not really sure what to say, but at least kind of validating that, you know, it is normal to have mixed feelings, and it's okay to experience these feelings. So that's why when I do therapy, I don't really like to say positive or negative emotions, because all emotions are valid. And so I just kind of tend to say, you know, what emotions you're not comfortable with, or what kind of emotions do you not like feeling. And so that's kind of where I come from, but I think it's just really important that we validate individuals, their perspectives, and what they might be feeling. Offering support or helping in reporting. So that can also be a really important thing, because a lot of times maybe people don't know how to report it, or they're afraid to, especially when it comes to maybe not the victim actually directly coming to you and talking about these things, but hearing it from somebody else. It can be really important just to be there, offering them support and how they can go about reporting, or even it's helpful to just sit with them and actually go through the reporting process with them, because sometimes it makes it a little bit more transparent with the whole process, that at least you're doing it with them, you're sitting with them, and they have that support there with you. Also, keeping, especially when it's victims, you know, keeping the child informed about what might happen, especially if you are mandated reporters. This can be really important, you know, understanding that there is confidentiality in some of the things that, you know, people tell us, but at the same time, if we do have a responsibility to report things, that we are letting them know what is going to be happening or what might be the outcome if they disclose to us or when they disclose to us about these things. Things that can be potentially harmful for victims is minimizing feelings and emotions. So again, that's going back to the opposite side of validating feelings and emotions. You know, nobody likes to hear that their problem is not important, or that what they're feeling or what they're saying is not real, or it's not genuine, you know. So that is something that I feel is really important, is to validate feelings, not minimize them or dismiss what they might be experiencing. Also, interrogating and questioning too much, this can be kind of a fine line. You know, you want to get as much information as you can, especially if you are making a report. However, especially if you're the first person that this victim is talking to or disclosing to, it can be kind of intimidating when it's almost like an interrogation and just constantly asking them for details. At the same time, this can also be harmful because a lot of times, especially when adults are asking kids to kind of give me more, you know, what happened, where did it happen? Sometimes, you know, victims might feel like that you don't believe them, and that's why you're asking for more. And even though that might not be your intention, it definitely can be perceived that way, as, you know, maybe you don't believe, and so you're trying to get more information from them. And then also victim blaming. That is such a huge thing, you know, when we're dealing with victims, not just with sexual abuse, with any kind of trauma. You know, victim blaming can be very harmful in that, like I said, you might be the only person that they disclose this to, and then when we blame them or we justify the reason why they were abused, it makes them, you know, it changes the way that they think, and it makes them feel like they're not important, or what they have to say is not value. So these are just a couple of warning signs. I mean, this is definitely not an exhaustive list, and everybody is different. Everybody experiences trauma differently, and everybody processes it very differently. And everybody perceives trauma differently. You know, for one person, it might not be that traumatic, but for another person, it's really emotionally triggering or something. And so these are kind of warning signs. Like I said, you know, not an exhaustive list. Some behavior issues that might come up, you know, anger, aggression, withdrawal, isolation, lack of trust, or having problems in school. You know, if they're really great students and they get A's and B's, and then all of a sudden, you know, the grades drop off, that can kind of be a signal as something might be happening. Under emotional problems, things like self-blame, irritability, mood swings, fear, those can all be signs that, you know, something might be happening, and you might want to have a conversation with them, or just provide support if they're not ready to talk. Physical problems is like anything you can see, you know, or anything that you might know of, like bedwetting, you know, that can kind of be a behavior problem as well. But really, when we're looking at all of these warning signs, I think something to keep in mind is the age appropriateness, right? So depending on what age they are, you're going to want to look at, okay, what's appropriate for their age, or what is typical of their behaviors, their emotional states, things like that. Because anything that is you know, not normal for them, or a sudden change in these things, these are the kinds of things that might be red flags for us. And we can kind of say, okay, well, you know, all of a sudden, like I said, they're not doing well in school, or they're all of a sudden, you know, they're very social, but maybe now they're not, and maybe they choose to be alone, or they don't want to talk to anybody. These are kind of things that we can kind of observe and take notice, and kind of, you know, like, maybe I can keep an eye on this child, because something, you know, something might be happening. Okay, and this is my favorite, mandated reporting. I am so passionate about this. I was telling Kristin, I can go on for hours about this. So I used to work at Child Welfare Services. So I kind of advocate in terms of making sure that you report. So with mandated reporting, Chapter 350 HRS Hawaii Revised Statutes, it specifies certain things about mandated reporting: who must report, what kind of situations need to be reported, how to report, action taken upon reporting, who's immune from liability, confidentiality of reports, what's admissible evidence, penalty for not reporting. So there's actually, if you go to the Department of Human Services website, there's actually a guide, a PDF that you can actually print out. It's about 8 or 9 pages. I actually have one of them. And it just has the guidelines as to if you have questions about what mandated reporting means, or what do you have to do if you're a mandated reporter. So typically, if you're a mandated reporter, you have to call into the hotline, and then followed by, if you do end up making a report, you have to follow through with a written mandated reporter checklist. And so the numbers are there. So if you're on Oahu, the number is 832-5300. And then if you're calling from the neighbor island, it's 1-888-390-3088. So the numbers that are highlighted, or that are in red font, those are the numbers. And I think this can be a really important thing, because I hear a lot of situations from people that they're not sure if they should call, or maybe they don't have enough information, or they're afraid to, because of they don't want people to know that they're the ones that are reporting. And so I've gone to a bunch of mandated reporting trainings, and I would say, if there's like an inkling of doubt, or it just makes you feel kind of off, or something doesn't seem right, I say call, because if you're in doubt, call, because what they can do is you can actually do a consultation with an intake worker. So when they answer the phone, you can say, I'm not sure if I should make a report for this, but this is what I know. And when you call, you can remain anonymous. You don't have to give your name, your number. You also don't have to give the names or the information of the people that you're reporting about. Just in case you're not really sure, you can definitely do that consultation anonymously. They have their own assessment or evaluation system that they're able to say, okay, yes, this kind of flags us for this type of intake, or yes, this does need a report. And so it's really important that you do call in and you do the consult. And if they do recommend you make a report, that you do so, when you're on the phone with them. And something that I also like to stress with mandated reporters is that you are not the investigator. So remember that you're not the investigator. It's not your job to get all the evidence. It's not your job to get all the details of everything. If you have a suspicion, if you have a worry, or you're just, like I said, you don't feel right and just something doesn't seem okay, just call, because that's what child welfare does. They're the investigators. They'll figure out what's going on and they'll make the decision. And it doesn't have to be on you to figure out all the details of what is actually happening. And so that's their job to do that. And so, I just tell people, don't worry about not having evidence or things like that, because like I said, just a suspicion, you want to make sure you call. And you don't necessarily need the evidence. In that mandated reporter guideline, it does say the kind of information that would help if you have that. Obviously, names, contact numbers if you have it, where they could be located, obviously to look into the investigation. But sometimes you call and you don't really have a lot of information to give, and like I said, just make the consultation. They can figure out with their evaluation system like where that's gonna go. And another thing that I do tell people is what's important is we don't know, maybe they already have a ongoing investigation and child welfare can't find them, and you have the connection with them, so you might make the difference in really helping a child or helping a family to be in a safe situation. And so that's my little spiel on mandated reporting. I love it. So does anybody have any questions, any comments, concerns?
Oh. Jane, you're muted.
I have a couple of questions. Thank you. It's not a good idea for me to go on what I remember from back when. So let me just ask, Kristin, for our diocese, we're here with a group of wonderful parish catechetical leaders, coordinators, directors of religious education. Who is considered a mandated reporter?
That's a great question. What I tell people is, if you're not mandated by the law, you're mandated by our safe environment policy.
So an ethical reporter. So in other words, if we see something, say something, right? Right. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Laura. It really helped, I think, for us to be put at ease that if we do, have a suspicion, we call, and that first point of contact is an intake. I think that's something that over time I've heard that question, oh, what if I'm not correct? And does that hurt more than help? So thank you for giving us a greater level of comfort and confidence in making the call, even if we suspect. The other question that I had, this is my last one, is Kristin, the charter has been also inclusive of the terminology of vulnerable adults.
Yes.
So if we have a suspicion for vulnerable adult abuse, who would the contact be for that?
Now, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Department of Human Services has an adult protective services.
Yes, they do.
To child protective, yeah.
They have a child welfare services as well as adult protective services, correct.
Okay, so that information is on the Department of Human Services website
Yes.
to report abuse
Yes.
for vulnerable adults. And the reason I ask is because I'm sure as all of you have heard, the statistics during the pandemic is the rise, the higher incidence of abuse, of domestic abuse, and not just for children, but also, adults, as well. So thank you for allowing me to offer that clarification that because people tell us all kinds of things, at the parishes, and we witness a number of interactions, behavioral changes and such. A person who was usually very lively is now more withdrawn. There's sort of like this body language of like just cringing kind of thing when the partner or spouse is approaches and such. So it's also good to know that there's a place that we can also speak to an intake person about suspicions. Thank you.
I have a question. Hi, this is Liz. So does that include, of course, physical, sexual, and also like elder abuse, like suspected elder abuse? Is that would be under the vulnerable adult victims?
Yes.
Yeah, so for the adults, if there's elderly abuse, then you would contact the adult protective services.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to say in the charter, they have what they define as a vulnerable adult. And it's a pretty general definition. It's something like an adult who habitually lacks the use of reason. And I think they frame it in that manner to just kind of encompass, well, it could be like a developmentally disabled adult, could be an elderly person, maybe who's in that might be showing signs of dementia. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions?
Sorry, I have one more question. This is I think anyway, this is my first time regarding about the victims abuse coordinator. So you said we need to post things in our parish, like resources and all that?
Yes.
And
So
where would we get that from?
remind me what parish you're with?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm from Annunciation on the Big Island in Waimea.
Okay,
And
okay.
yeah.
So and you know what? We can set up time to chat, or I can email you or give you a call afterward. But just real quick, so the charter it requires that every parish and school post it's basically it's the USCCB poster, and it's really just to make sure that Laura's contact information is out there so that people know what number to call. It's got her email address, and and then in addition to the poster, there's the brochures that people can take. But I can definitely follow up with you.
Okay. And sorry, I haven't been in our main parish lately, in Waimea. I've been going to our mission parish. So I don't remember seeing if there's brochures. And I think with COVID, we took away all the brochures. So, and I don't even know if anything's on the kiosk anymore.
Okay.
So, but I guess should we also post it on our website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And I can get you some information.
Okay, great. Thanks,
That's a
Kristin.
good point, Liz, about us. I mean, yeah, we did have to take away all of the brochures and such, and so, yeah, great point. But Kristin, you do have posters available for the parishes, right? Yeah.
Yes.
She'll
Did
set
those
you
go
up,
out?
Liz. She'll set you up.
Did those go out or on the
Thank you.
website?
The poster is not posted on the website only because it's a USCCB poster that we customize with Laura's information. I do email them every so often, and I think I just sent it out when we switched to Laura, but I think I'm probably going to do another mass email again.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I don't know if I'm on your list yet, Kristin, because I'm kind of sitting in for Jane. So maybe, and they might be lost in my email. So, okay, I'll look. Thank you.
I will make sure you're on my email distribution, Liz. Thank you.
This is awesome. This is awesome.
Hi, this is Karen. Kristin, can you make sure I'm on your list too?
Absolutely. Now,
Because
go ahead.
because our DRE Darlene Ayo doesn't come on virtual stuff, and she doesn't go on the computer. So if you could send it to me, that would be great, and then I'll make sure we put it up.
Definitely. So, you know, Karen, I think, have you been getting my emails? Because I'm pretty sure I was including you in the distribution.
I think I might, because I think I did see a few emails from you. So I'll go double check.
Okay, but I will make sure you're on.
Thank you so much. My other question is, are you guys going to go over the Virtus 2.0 healthy relationships tonight as well?
Well, if you want,
Or were you not planning to do that? Sorry.
You know, I'll throw it back to Jane, but I did see, I got an email from Lisa Gomes this afternoon.
Okay. We were both on the meeting, so.
I'll leave it up to you guys. Whatever you want to talk about.
Sure. Sure. Is it? Let me see. I think we can certainly do that because this is why we gathered for this conversation, and it would be a good refresher for everyone, even if you are familiar with this. So yeah, I think that why not take advantage of having the experts here with us.
That would be great. Thank you.
Kristin, just so that I know, because I have a couple of other sort of very brief business kind of issues to present tonight, not long. So do we need like 5 minutes for you to go over this, or a little longer, or what would you say that would be?
What do you think, Karen and Laurie?
I think what our question really that we were coming up, so there is the Teen 2.0 that's out. And we do know that, you know, with everything that was going on, I don't know how many parishes were able to do their safe environment with their youth yet. So we were wondering, and Karen chime in too, we were wondering if we could virtually watch that with our youth.
As a group.
as a group, because I think right now the way it's set up, each youth has to sign in for it, but could we do it virtually and then write up our report saying these are the youth that attended the virtual viewing of it, but we would be as leaders and our youth on there. We could do breakout discussions with the kids, you know, what have you, but could that suffice? And could we view it together as a group instead of individually for the kids?
Honestly, I don't see why not. I think that's a great idea, especially if
Okay,
you're
great.
and you allow breakouts. My only suggestion would be just make sure you, I guess, and I'm pretty sure you guys already do this, is have it documented, whatever date it was, who attended, and just for those documentation purposes. But I think, yeah, that sounds great. Actually.
And our breakout
Okay.
groups would be mostly, I think, splitting up the ages. So the middle school versus the high school, but if we would watch it all together, I haven't seen it yet. But of course I would watch it first, but if we could do that and still be able to get it for at least this catechetical year, kind of coming down to, because we haven't done it yet. Thank you.
Yeah. And if anything, as long as you just document the method that you did it in the audit form, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That was my question too with Lori. And my other question was if we could do it for both middle and high school. Middle, high school, college. That's the ages that I have in my group right now.
Okay. I know it is specifically directed at high school students. But honestly, I think the content, it's pretty basic enough that it could, because it's all about help, friendships, relationships, and I think it's fine for middle schoolers.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think Lisa also may have added in her email that if they have some type of leader guide for the leaders, after going through it, is there some kind of guide? Maybe not necessarily questions, but that would be helpful too if they had discussion questions for leaders. I don't know if Virtues provides that.
There is, it's not specific to that particular training, but there is an online course that's called it's like Teaching Boundaries and Safety. And it's meant for adults who are doing the safe environment training for youth. Just kind of like the key points to hit, key ideas. If you want, I can actually assign you that training. And so it's something online that you do ahead of time. And then I want to say, I think there is a book that accompanies it. If
that would be cool. I'd be interested.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd be interested too, Kristin. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything
Everyone raise your hand. I think everyone in the room is interested.
Thank you. Add Lisa Gomes to that, because the other thing we were going to ask, because for us, twice a month, we get together with 4 parishes get together to do our youth ministry.
Okay.
And so we were thinking, one, if we could do it as a group, maybe we could also do it with all 4 parishes at one time, doing it that way.
That sounds awesome.
So,
Thank you. Yeah, and I think being able to do it in that group setting is better in the sense that it gives the kids the chance to discuss things, yeah. Versus if they're doing it on their own online, it meets the requirement, but this just kind of is like an added benefit to allowing that discussion piece.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. The only other thing I would mention is that there is, and you guys are probably familiar with the Circles of Care curriculum. And I only mention it because I know for that high school ages, it's got like those different topics, yeah, that it's like texting, sexting, relationships. So just to let you know that I guess that healthy relationships module is one of several options, yeah, that you can use.
Awesome. Thank you.
So asked the question because, these are all veteran leaders here, but it's been the most unusual year. So ordinarily, when we begin our catechetical years, we have parent handbooks and we've got signatures. We're going to do the safe environment thing, give permission. So not everyone is necessarily back in person to get sign-offs from parents and such. So there would still need to be some kind of um, uh, statement sent out to the parents to say, we're going to be doing this. If you'd like to review it ahead of time, I don't, we'll have an evening for parents to review, at which point, I don't know about you guys, but for me, none of my parents have ever shown up. I think in the beginning, safe environment, I used to get a lot, especially when they were younger. But by the time they were in high school, they're like, yeah, Jane, never mind, we trust you. And then just, they wouldn't show up they just sign off. So to have some way of having a parent acknowledgement that they give permission for their kids to be reviewing this. And then the second thing that I tend to do, and again, I'm preaching to the choir here, forgive me, is that when it comes to these types of sessions that are sort of mandated and we have to sort of count attendance, is that there has to be a cameras on component to it. So you can't just, okay, I'm going to put my photo up there and then I can stand up and walk away. So, and because I also, depending upon the size of the group, and this is where if you're going to have a multiple parishes, I'm just reflecting upon all of my years teaching high school. When you have a lot of kids online at the same time, if it's like 4 parishes, I would recommend having all your youth ministry leaders, of course, on there. And then you monitor the faces of your kids, because if they're triggered by anything or, such, you want to try to pick up on that, if at all possible. So it needs to be cameras on, and then assign, if you're going to go in with 4 parishes, every leader of each parish, monitor your own kids, look for any kind of signs. And then, if you want to go to breakout rooms afterwards to process, that might be a good thing as well.
I have a question. Do we need to record it? Hopefully not. Okay, yeah, because otherwise people may not want to ask questions. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing, we also just recently sent out the safe environment consent form. And because same thing, nobody's going to show up for the meetings. I put the link to the diocese, and we have a checkbox that says, I will preview this. And then I supplied the link there. Yeah.
Perfect.
To just show this is what we're going to use.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome. Okay, well, I think thank you so much again, Kristin and Laura, for your time with us. We so appreciate your information and your expertise, and also your willingness to just get back to us so quickly whenever we have questions and such. It's a wonderful service and support and ministry that you provide to us. So thank you very much. And Kristin and Laura, thank you. And we'll see you again on Thursday for the Thursday morning group at 9:30. So
we'll see you then. Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely, sure.
So if you're all okay with it, I will go ahead and email all of you the slide deck from this evening, and I'll go ahead and assign you that teaching boundaries and safety module, and I'll leave it up to you. It's optional, so if you want to complete it, you can. It's not mandatory. And in the slide deck is it has Laura's and my contact information. So as always, if you guys have questions, feel free to call or email.
That's awesome, Kristin. Thank you so much. Thank you for sending that out. You're the best. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes, thank you.
guys.
And when is the annual information due to you, Kristin?
Ooh, that's right. May
Sorry,
May
gang.
3rd.
May 3rd. So 8.
Oh. We don't get a COVID extension.
Yes. So, Ooh.
We're just finishing filling out certificates for confirmation. Okay.
You guys got it.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
so for
you.
our coordinators and directors of religious ed, if you wouldn't mind just hanging on for a few minutes, got a couple of announcements and calendar things and talk story for a few minutes. So thank you again, Kristin and Laura. See you next time.